Something happened weeks ago, maybe just last night. The message that ended it, the door that closed, the call that split your life into before and after. On the outside, you handled it. You said the right things. You did the right things. A few weeks later, you're sitting in your car with the engine off, going nowhere. You open your laptop at 9. You're still staring at the same screen at 2. Not sad exactly. Something inside you just switched off, but the weight in your chest stayed, and you can't find the switch to turn yourself back on. Then you watch someone else take a harder hit and stand back up in a week, and one ugly question starts forming. What's wrong with me? People think this is weakness. They'll tell you to stay positive, that time heals, that other people have it worse. None of it actually tells you what to do. You already know all of that. The problem is that knowing what to do and being able to do it are not the same thing. Here's what most people get wrong about that moment, and it flips almost everything you've been told about strength. For 50 years, psychologists thought giving up was learned, that enough pain eventually teaches you nothing you do matters. Then the same researchers went back with modern neuroscience and found the opposite. Shutting down isn't learned, it's the default. A part of the brain floods the system with a chemical signal built to stop you from fighting something you can't escape. What has to be learned is control. A separate region, right behind the forehead, helps detect whether your actions are actually changing anything. When it finds evidence that they are, it switches the shutdown off. The brain doesn't come pre-installed with strength. It comes pre-installed with collapse. Strength is something you install, and when you actually install it, the people who used to know exactly how to move you are usually the first to notice. And much of modern life seems almost designed to train that detector backwards. You absorb stress you cannot act on for hours a day. The news, a stranger's opinion, an algorithm deciding who sees your work, an economy you didn't choose. None of it moves no matter what you do, and you sit with it anyway. Meanwhile, everything you could actually push against and win gets deleted with one tap. You don't cook, food arrives. You don't wait, it streams. You don't have the hard conversation, you leave it on red. Anything uncomfortable that you could actually control quietly disappears from your life. So your days fill up with stress you can't influence and comfort that costs you nothing, and there's no middle left where you struggle against something and win. Your brain collects endless proof that pain happens to you, and almost no proof that you can move through it. That's not weakness. That's just a detector that was never given the reps. That's the first trap. You call it protecting your peace. Sometimes it genuinely is. But be honest for 10 seconds. The meeting you cancelled because you weren't in the headspace. The message you didn't send because now wasn't the time. The conversation you've avoided for the 4th year running because you're still not ready. Every one of those was a controllable difficulty and a rep. Every time you delete one, you're not resting. You're running a training session, and the lesson is simple. Hard things are things I move away from, not things I move through. It feels like relief in the moment, and relief feels like proof you made the right call. So the trap rewards you every single time you fall into it. Meanwhile, the stress you can't control stays fully switched on. You've got it backwards. You're shielding yourself from the only stress that could make you stronger, and absorbing the only stress that guarantees you stay exactly where you are. The second trap is quieter and harder to catch yourself doing. Something unfair happens. Instead of moving, you open a case. You replay it. You build the argument. You wait for the person who hurt you to admit what they did before you let yourself move on. You were right. That's what makes it so easy to stay in. But notice what's actually happening. You've handed them the keys to your own timeline and called it standing up for yourself. Being right can start costing you being free. So here's the actual definition, and it's smaller than you think. Resilience isn't the absence of the hit. It's the distance between the hit and your first controlled action. That's the whole skill, not never falling. The speed of the reset. 3 things build it. First, find one thing you can actually move, not the whole problem. One email, one task, one small controllable thing that responds when you push it. You're not fixing your life. You're handing your brain proof that your actions still work. Second, choose some of your own stress instead of only absorbing what gets thrown at you. The hard conversation this week, not next year. The workout when you don't want to. Finish the thing you started. Every voluntary difficulty is a rep your brain never got. Third, build flexibility, not armor. Researchers who've tracked people through the worst events of their lives, loss, disaster, injury, keep finding the same thing. The people who came through intact weren't the ones who felt nothing. They were the ones who could feel it fully when that helped, and set it down when it didn't. A steel rod looks strong, right up until the moment it snaps. Strength that only has one setting isn't strength. It's a fuse. And here's what nobody warns you about. Once this actually starts working, some people won't experience it as strength. They'll experience it as loss. Think about who used to be able to move you. The ones who knew that raising their voice would make you fold, that going quiet would make you chase, that guilt would make you change your mind before you'd even finish thinking it through. Those were never random reactions. They were buttons, and someone learned exactly where they were. Now the hit still lands. They raise their voice, and you don't fold. They go silent, and you don't chase. They try guilt, and your decision stays exactly where you put it. They can still hurt you. They just can't decide what you do next anymore. People rarely celebrate losing leverage over you. Usually, they just say you've changed. What they mean is, the buttons don't work anymore, and they don't know how to reach you without them. You'll still get blindsided. You'll still have the night in the parking lot. What changes is how long you stay there. What used to take 9 months takes 4 weeks. What used to take a month takes a day. Not because the hit gets smaller, because somewhere underneath, your brain has finally collected enough evidence to believe one sentence. I've come back from worse, and I know where the switch is.